The sun rises on the coast of Dorset, and in the game of life, everything is to play for. The birds have nested, time, effort and energy have been invested, but until those genes fly into the population at large, peril remains. To champion the winners and commiserate with the losers, stay tuned to Springwatch. Hello and welcome to Springwatch 2024, coming to you live from the RSPB's beautiful reserve down here at Arne. It's week 3. Now, I think if you were watching weeks 1 and 2, you know we kicked off with a great start, plenty of science, lots of drama, some fledging, some birds got eaten too. But we've got more coming up this week, I can promise you. I tell you what, let's go live straight away to all of our remaining remote cameras. Obviously, some have fledged, we've lost those, but oh my goodness me, you know where I'm going. Let's go to the goshawks. What a...
That's great, isn't it?
A portrait of perfection, predatory perfection in the making. Haven't they changed? Remember we first started looking at little white fluff balls?
It's unbelievable, just in 2 weeks. We haven't actually focused that much on them, have we?
Sadly
so it's
not.
Really
Sadly
nice
not.
to go to them live when they're looking so spectacular.
Teardrop feathers on the breast, characteristic of the juvenile plumage. They can see their wing feathers coming through, but most notably, the eye.
It's
the piercing eye of this predator. Sensational stuff. More to come.
Well, they're keeping their eye on us. We've been keeping our eye on all of the nests, as I hope some of you have on the iPlayer over the weekend. And if you have, you'll know that there was some drama over the weekend. There was also some really good news. So, start with the good news. Let's start with the oyster catchers, because we were predicting that those 3 eggs were going to hatch this weekend. Saturday at 12:45, you can see the adult bird is very restless. There's some pipping going on with those eggs, which means they've just started to hatch. And yesterday at 7:11, we get the first glimpse of a little chick that has clearly hatched out of the egg. Just to prove the point, the adult flies off with it, leaving one very soggy, vulnerable little chick. Second egg starting to pip. You can see a little hole in there. She settles down again, but at 10:53, we get a glimpse of 2 of the chicks, 1 egg still to hatch. What happens next is quite comical, because look, I'm going to say that's the female. I don't know, I'm saying it's the female on the chicks. He comes along, look, she's like, no, he wants to have a look. I want to have a look at my offspring. She's like, no, go away. The other one hasn't come out yet. I want to surprise you with 3. And I don't quite know what's going on there, but it is quite comical. The other adult, which as I say, I'm presuming might be a male, sort of wanders off, looking slightly embarrassed. 2:20, we've got the 3 chicks. The third one comes out of the egg. How adorable are they? They're precocial, these chicks, which means, I was going to say, they wander off, but that one sort of staggered off, very unsteady on their feet at this stage, as you can see. It's trying to walk on pebbles, which is not easy. So off they go. They start to explore their surroundings. And you can see, actually, fairly quickly, they get the hang of it. 7 o'clock, they're back under the adult for the night. And at that stage, what are you looking at me for?
We can't sex the oyster catchers like that. You're trying to say that it was the male that was being pushed off. She had a greater investment.
Well, I like to think it might be the female that was sitting on them, pushing the male away. But as Chris says, we don't actually know that. But anyway, so they're all under one of the adults at 7 o'clock in the evening for the night. And that's when our nest watchers got a little concerned, because remember, they had seen a fox around that area. Just after midnight, the adult gets alarmed, runs off. Keep your eye on the right corner of the screen, and you see a fox. Shadow of a fox goes past. Fortunately, not that far away from the nest. Well, far enough away, and then the adult comes back in and starts to brood the chicks again. Obviously, they're very vulnerable, so we were delighted when in the morning, this morning at 5:40, we see all 3 chicks present and correct. Slightly chaotic and clumsy still. But you can see just how quickly that they're getting the hang of it. They go out with the parents who are showing them how to feed on the marshes. And you can see they're sort of sucking it up like spaghetti, having their first meals. All 3 of them. It's great to see all 3 of them with the parent birds there. Exploring, and this one, watch this. Oh, face plants. It all got too much. It was either exhausted or maybe it had tried to eat too much. But as I say, a great start to tonight's programme with some good news of 3 successful hatchings. And now we move on to your story,
Well, they're
Chris.
delightful little chicks. Now, look, one of the great joys of being able to put our tiny, unobtrusive cameras right close to those nests is that we can see things that you would never see in a lifelong, view as a naturalist. You know, we monitor those nests now for 24 hours a day for 3 weeks. You can't go and stand in a bush this far away from a nest for 3 weeks without falling asleep or disturbing the birds. So we are able to witness things which otherwise we would never see. Some things are absolutely fascinating. And our duty, of course, is to report all of this to you. Not to make any judgments, but to show you what's really happening out here. We tell you the complete truth. Sometimes, however, the truth is quite hard to swallow. This is going to be a tough watch, so if you're feeling a bit squeamish tonight, you may not want to find out what happened to our reed bunting chicks. We had 4 of them in the nest, down on the marsh. They were doing well. Both adults were coming in frequently with food. Here we see the female coming in and bringing them some insects, but look at this. Out of nowhere, an adder appears. The female flees, obviously, immediately, and the snake bites 2 of the youngsters, clearly envenomating them because they are almost immediately still, either incapacitated or dead. Then it moves around, thinks of taking one of those youngsters until it grabs hold of it by the head, as they always swallow things head first. Once it's got a grip, it withdraws the dead youngster from the nest to a place where it'd be easier to swallow. It's extraordinary. When I grew up, adders, when you read the books, they eat small mammals, that's what it said, particularly young small mammals that it would get from their nest. But this is not the first time we've seen this behaviour on Springwatch. At Minsmere, we saw an adder climbing well over a metre into a bramble bush to take young goldfinches. So again, this is fascinating new behaviour. But what happens next? Remember, we've now got 1 dead chick that it's envenomated and 2 living chicks in the nest. The adder returns. And if you look carefully, you can see the bulge there, look, in its body where it's already swallowed the other chick. This time it slithers around to the back of the nest, clearly using its tongue to sense this. It was bound to return. It's found a bountiful source of food. Comes in the back. Now there's the dead chick. Now that would be the obvious target. Not moving, easy to deal with, easy to take away. It nuzzles around. Perhaps it's too cold. Perhaps it's because it's not moving, but it ignores it and then attacks another chick. But here, it doesn't wait for the venom to take effect, if indeed it has envenomated it, and it drags the chick out of the back of the nest alive. As I said, it's a grisly watch, but it is simply extraordinary that we're given this insight into this behaviour, which is probably happening all over the UK, but we never, ever get to see it. It's absolutely amazing. And we've now got the remaining dead chick, which it left there, and 1 living chick left in that reed bunting's nest. And we'll show you what happens a bit later on in the programme. And it doesn't involve an adder.
As Chris says, it is a hard watch. I don't know, there's something about snake predation, isn't there? We see predations, and I don't know, I found that one really difficult to watch. But you know what I'm going to say? don't demonise the predator. You know, it's all part of the circle of life.
I mean, adders, sometimes they only eat 6 to 8, maybe times a year, depending on the size of what they're eating, but they don't need that much food to get through their active summer, and then, of course, they effectively sort of hibernate over the course of the winter. So that was a significant meal for that snake, you know? That's going to keep it going for maybe, I don't know, 2 months.
Amazing to see. But I do think we need to lighten the mood a little bit, and I know just the man that can do that, Iolo. And he's in Radipole. Iolo.
Yes, indeed. I have a sunny disposition, sunny weather, beautiful reserve. I am at the RSPB's Radipole Lake Nature Reserve. It's a complex wetland reserve. The River Wey runs right down the middle of it, and I am surrounded, believe it or not, by the town of Weymouth. You can see some houses behind me. All the way around we've got busy roads, we've got factories, we've got shops. It is an incredible place. The first time I came here was way back in the early 90s, but I hadn't been here for quite some time. So a few days ago, I seized the opportunity to have a look around. Dragonflies flitting, warblers warbling, flocks of sand martins. I'm surrounded by nature, yet I'm right in the middle of Weymouth. This is the RSPB's remarkable Radipole Lake Nature Reserve. This nature reserve boasts a freshwater lake surrounded by reed beds, as well as wetland habitats and scrubby hedgerows. This place is alive with warblers. There are reed warblers singing away, sedge warblers singing away as well. Those two are just back from Africa, and every now and again you hear the explosive song of a Chetty's warbler. It's a bird that is rarely seen but often heard, and it doesn't sing, it absolutely shouts at you. You never know what you'll come across here. There's a roe deer buck, a male roe deer, just skulking in the vegetation, just tucked out the way. Beautiful, beautiful animals. Looking at me, it knows I'm here. Right, I'll walk away, leave it in peace. When the sun comes out and the wind dies down, it's a brilliant place for all kinds of damselflies and dragonflies. And just in front of me here, we got one of the most beautiful of all of them. It's called a banded demoiselle. It's quite a large damselfly with a lovely blue-green body and a blue-green thumbprint on the wing, hence the name banded demoiselle. It's an absolute stonker. Oh, here we go. The female marsh harrier is up now, much bigger than the male. Chocolate brown colour with a beautiful gold on the head here. And this is the perfect habitat for hunting and for breeding. But what a cracker of a bird. What a place this is. It's jam-packed full of just amazing wildlife, surrounded by busy roads, by houses. I can't think of anywhere else quite like this in the whole of the UK. It is a 215-acre urban jewel, packed full of all kinds of wildlife. So much so that we brought our long lens camera operator, Mark Yates, with us. Mark, what have you got for us? He's looking out over the Lake Radipole itself. Oh, a couple of cormorants, a coot and a mallard. Those cormorants no doubt have been feasting on maybe some of the carp here, some of the mullet here as well, just resting up in the evening sunshine. but it's well known for its extensive reed beds. You can see some of them behind me, and that is where you will find some of Radipol's star birds. I'm talking here about the bearded tits. Very difficult to see at this time of year. These were filmed when we were here for winter watch. I call them bearded tits. They should be called bearded reedlings. They're not members of the tit family at all. There you see the males with the grey faces and that droopy moustache there, and there are roughly 700 pairs in the UK, and half of Dorset's breeding population are all on this one fantastic reserve here. And we'll be back later on to show you more of Radipol's wildlife, but now let's leave southern England and head up to Scotland and catch up with Megan, who's in an urban environment.
I certainly am, Iolo. I'm completing the last leg of my epic Scottish tour, and I find myself in Glasgow University, of course nestled within the heart of Glasgow. And what an epic city it is. With a large population of over 600,000 people, it's Scotland's largest city, spanning 70 square miles. But with rivers like the Kelvin and Clyde, it provides epic corridors for wildlife and so many species to thrive. Species I was surprised by, great crested grebe. I mean, who'd have thought that was in the centre of Glasgow? I certainly wouldn't have done. But it's amazing what you can find when you look in, especially things like water voles. Now, when I look here across this courtyard of the University of Glasgow, I'm greeted with glimpses of clues about what lives here. And the scientists are constantly monitoring the biodiversity, understanding how it's faring as increased urbanisation continues to take hold. But one of the animals I want to talk to you about leaves this feather all around the courtyard. It's an epic predator, and it makes its home up in the eaves of these Harry Potter-esque buildings. It's of course the peregrine falcon, and we have a live nest which we can go to now, which should give us an insight about what's going on. Well, if you look in the corner at the top right, you might be able to, oh, it's just moved. Well, there you go. Well, these peregrine chicks have literally just fledged today and yesterday, and it's been so brilliant watching them. They have been very busy, and we've been able to keep an insight on these nests over the course of their rearing. Now, the pair were spotted mating at Kelvin Grove Art Gallery, and since that point, they've been really strong as a pair. This nest has been going on for 20 years. They're iconic peregrine falcons, that yellow eye-ring, that intense stare. And they're incredibly successful, having laid 4 eggs, the first egg laid on the 19th of March, and then hatched for the first time on the 27th. Now, they'll lay eggs at different days, and therefore they'll hatch on different days, so you get a different rate of growth. But what's really interesting about the peregrines here in urban Glasgow, compared to the peregrines we've been watching down at Corfe Castle, is that these eggs were laid and hatched 17 days earlier. Now, we've asked scientists as to why they think that might be, and there's a number of reasons which could be the potential reason. It could be that there's more food for urban peregrines, so more pigeons around that they're able to feast on. It could be the warmth of the city, that extra few degrees, making sure that the chicks are able to fledge successfully a little bit earlier, or perhaps the fact that they've got greater shelter. I mean, look at this, sheltered in this tower. I mean, they're doing pretty well. And the team here want to make sure that they are as researched and studied as possible. So they sent a group of licensed people up to ring them, but very precariously and cautiously, of course, because it's a big steep way to go up. So all harnessed and hard hats on, they ascended towards the nest, where they collected 4 chicks. They found 3 were male and 1 were female. They were ringed with unique markers, so that if these chicks decide to go off anywhere in their adult life and they're photographed or caught again, we'll know exactly where they came from and learn more about their movements. A DNA sample was taken, and then the chicks were put back in the nest for the adults to continue looking after them until they were old enough to fledge, which they have done so today, which is really excellent. Now, there's one mammal which is just superb, that whether you live in the heart of the countryside or in inner city towns, you will probably see it or certainly hear it. I'm of course talking about our foxes. Matt Moran is an excellent photographer, a fantastic person, and he has spent so much of his time dedicated to the plight of foxes, and he is going to share with us now his story about rural London.
I started photographing wildlife thinking that I had to leave London I did so much travelling throughout my 20s, going to wilderness areas, you know, places like East Africa, South America, and that was when I really started to get good pictures.
Little did I know, the animal that would captivate me the most was living right under my nose.
We're in an allotment in North London. This, for me, feels like a complete oasis. Discovering this place changed the course of my life. Back in 2016, I went for a walk with my partner, just in the streets around the back here. There were two foxes having a fight. They were both on their haunches, like pushing each other, doing that foxtrot thing. And so I ran home, got my cameras. They'd finished the fight, but they were just hanging out, and that was really the birth of my experience with foxes, photographing them. 7 years later, I'm still doing it. This allotment is perfect for foxes. There's lots of sheds here that they can make their homes under. There's a whole series of water troughs up and down the path of the allotment. I think if I were a fox, this is probably where I would choose to live, that's for sure. When I started, I knew that if I wanted to get really, really good shots, I was going to have to, you know, educate myself. I put this camera inside this box here that I cut a hole in to hide it. And then I've got these flashes. And really, you want to try and light the subject as naturally as possible. You also don't want to completely spook it. Someone once said to me that camera trap photography is 99% failure and that you do it for the 1%, and I couldn't agree more. You get rewarded at the end, and I have over the years. To be able to get that close to a wild animal was such a privilege, and you know, that buzz, every time I'd open the gate, what was I going to see? What sort of behaviour was I going to see? Fox behaviour is always surprising, and I've often said that the more I learn about them, the less I actually know about them. You know, they're full of incredible variety of behaviour. Often they will leave, you know, children's toys or shoes on food that they've buried as a visual cue to go back and then eat that food later. So they're caching food. You know, it's really clever behaviour for the fox. The fox is a divisive animal. You know, they can nick your shoes, they can poo on your doorstep, they can dig up your lawn. And I learned over the years that, you know, why they're digging is they're hunting worms. You know, from my point of view, all of this is just a natural, you know, fox behaviour.
My intrigue around the foxes often leads me out of the allotment and onto the city streets, under the cover of darkness. This is the place where I first saw those fighting foxes back in 2016. But tonight, it looks more likely that I'll get a picture of a car than a fox.
Too busy, yeah.
But eventually, my patience pays off.
Hey, Fred, you're the cheeky one, aren't you? I remember you. Definitely has that curious nature. Yep, you're going to come right up and check us out. Oh, look, there's one behind us over here. You a scaredy fox? Yeah, you're a scaredy fox.
By spending this much time with the foxes, I get to know the individuals and their personalities, and this informs the way that I photograph them.
It's such a rush, it's such a great feeling. This is why I can't ever leave foxes, right? It's incredible here. You know, this is on my doorstep. I feel so lucky and privileged to have this kind of wildlife spectacle just a few minutes from where I live. So I'm really thankful. It's just a wonderful, wonderful night. I didn't think that I'd become a voice for the foxes, but as time went on, I found myself, you know, being a fox communicator as well. My big hope is that the photographs and films that I've made over the years have made some difference. I think photography definitely plays a really important role, showing that these animals are individuals just like us. And to try and get that across in the work that I've done is really important. And I think if you don't understand an animal and its behaviour, then there's less chance that you're going to want to love it and want to protect it. Getting those facts across, getting that information across that helps to change someone's mind, that's what makes all of this work worthwhile.
Matt Moran, fantastic photographer and a great advocate for foxes, certainly changing people's minds when it comes to living side by side with them in our cities. Fantastic stuff. Now, I always say that science is the art of understanding truth and beauty. And on this year's series, we've certainly had some science. We've been telling the truth. We did that earlier with our reed buntings and adders. And we've had beauty, those goshawks. But what about the art? It's time for some art. I'm very pleased that I can introduce you to Mark Anthony, aka Street ATM, Street Artist par excellence. Thank you for coming along.
Thank you.
You're hard at work already, but before we get into the mural that we're painting here, why murals? Why not canvas and paper?
I really liked the idea of using art to reach a maximum number of people and getting art out of galleries, doing street art, especially for something that's kind of important to spreading the word about the importance of the natural world and the dangers that it faces. That's basically why I want to paint outdoors.
And what came first, an interest in wildlife or art, or both?
As a small child, I was obsessed with both, actually. Yeah, I was obsessed with birds and drawing and painting them. And as I grew up and went to college, I painted lots of different styles, lots of different genres of art, but I've always loved nature. And in these times when it's really so important to get the message across to as many people as possible about, you know, the beauty and importance of the natural world, this is really what I gives me the passion to keep on doing.
We can take a look at a couple more of your pieces of work here. Kestrel here in a very urban environment. A lot of your work is in urban environments. We're trying to get people to focus on the wildlife that's there.
Well, exactly, and I mean, this is an interesting metaphor because that was on emergency housing made out of shipping containers, and it's an image of an ideal wildflower meadow with all the inhabitants that it has, you know, without pesticides, without herbicides. That was a collaboration, the meadow, with Karen Francesca, but the whole thing is a way of showing what we've lost and what could actually potentially return if we give more care to our environment.
And what about this one? This one is outstanding because here the colours of this magnificent stag beetle go perfectly with the wall that you've got it on.
Yeah, one of the great things about doing street art is every wall is completely different. It's got different surface, different textures, colours, and every brick wall is a kind of almost a painting in itself. And so when I'm using different colours on different walls, then the interplay with that is so much more interesting than just a blank white canvas.
Where is that one if people want to see it?
That's at the Hold in Ipswich, the archives in Ipswich.
Fantastic stuff. OK, well, from that wall to this wall, and you've got started here with a very charismatic species, the ladybird spider.
Yeah, it had to be part of this mural depicting iconic heathland species because it was considered extinct and it's just been rediscovered relatively recently, and it's got a very unique life history which is dependent on particular heathland habitat which is to be found here at Arne. Yeah,
well, this is the male, the one that you're painting, the brightly coloured one. The females are larger and black, but as you say, they disappeared until 1979. There's been some fantastic conservation work that's been done. Since 2000, they've been moved on to 20 more sites to secure their future. And we think we've got 1,000 spiders now. They're even thinking of moving them down to the southwest, which is fantastic. Yeah. What else have you got on the wall then, aside from the charismatic ladybird spider?
Well, there was a whole kind of spectrum of species that could have been chosen to represent this area because it's got multiple habitats and really interesting. But I chose some classic heathland birds like the Dartford warbler, and then I wanted to show the different amphibians and reptiles as well. Well, this is not an amphibian, obviously, but there's a sand lizard, and then I've got some bell heather that's going to go there. Then
nightjar
and a Purbeck mason wasp, which
Okay.
again has got a very unique life history.
Well, we wish you well. You've got 3 more days to finish
Yeah.
this. And if you want to follow Mark's progress, you can on our live cameras. We've got a little gazebo for you in case the weather turns bad.
Great.
So you
Thanks.
can keep working.
Yeah.
We're very much looking forward to seeing the result at the end of the week. Now, when I was a kid and got into birding, I had to do most of my birding very locally, didn't have a car, but occasionally I'd jump on the train to Weymouth. It was like an exotic trip. It was like going to the Italian Riviera. So I changed the name Radipole to Radipoli to make it sound even more exotic. What do you think, Iolo?
Yes, I like that. I like that. The Radipoli Riviera, where we have been eating gelatos all afternoon, and it was so sunny earlier on. I had on my lime green mankini. Now, luckily for all of you at home, it's cooled off and the mankini has been put away, thankfully, never to reappear. But this place, it is fantastic. You can see the extent of the reed beds and the mix of water there as well. And in all, they've recorded 220 species of birds here. That is some going for an urban wetland. Now let's go over and see if we can find you a couple of them, because we've got our wildlife camera operator, Mark Yates, here. Mark, have you got anything different? We saw cormorants earlier. Oh, look at that. Pair of swans with cygnets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cygnets there. I have to say, mind, this is Swan Central. We've got one with 7 cygnets, another one nearby with 8, another one with 4. Lots and lots of them here. Now, when the sun was out this afternoon, we had a lot of sand martins buzzing around. These are small swallow-type birds, migrants that arrive from Africa. They were one of the first ones to arrive in mid-March. Lovely sort of light brown backs, white bellies with that brown band across the chest. They're building up their nests now. They're just carrying bits of feathers and little bits of grass. They don't build a very good nest, really. It's just a scattered few bits and bobs. Now, they are very gregarious nesters. They're colonial nesters, usually nesting in river banks or sand cliffs. I have seen colonies over 100 strong. Until recently, there were only 2 colonies in the whole of Dorset, none of them near here. And then in 2010, the RSPB built an artificial sand martin nest bank. This is it. At first, it didn't really succeed, but 2 pairs nested in 2019, and by 2022, 38 pairs reared 100 young. And now they reckon that there's something like 60 pairs. So it's been a roaring success, which is what you would expect in a wetland area like this, full of all kinds of aerial insects for them to eat. If you've been watching Springwatch the last 2 weeks, you'll know that we have a live camera on one of those nests. So let's go over live and have a look and see what's going on. There were 5 chicks there when we saw them on Thursday. There are still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chicks, I'm pleased to say, and 1 adult just dozing away, waiting for the evening light to fade. But we have had quite a bit of action over the weekend. Have a look at this, and we're privileged again to have a camera in there. Our nest is kind of bottom right there, circled, and 2 birds go in. We thought it was the resident male and female. It's not. It's an intruding male that immediately sets about to attack those chicks. Luckily, those chicks are old enough to withstand a fierce attack like this. The male, our resident male, comes in with food, looks a little bit puzzled, wondering what's going on. The intruding male is still attacking. The female eventually escapes, makes her way off, and then soon followed by the intruding male. Off he goes as well. And then our resident male starts to feed the chicks, much as if nothing's happened. You can see the chicks are none the worse for wear. But the next day, the intruding male came back again, straight in, straight on the attack once more. What's going on here? We think he's trying to kill the chicks so that he can then mate with the female, and she will give birth to his eggs and his chicks. But this time, luckily, the male comes in and sees that intruding male off. Now, we are privileged. I've never seen anything like that before, but I've never seen a camera in a sand martin nest. And don't worry, as we saw, all 5 chicks appear to be doing well. And I think it won't be long before they fledge, because they've been starting to wander around, they've been exercising. We've seen them going right down the burrow, right down to the entrance of the burrow. See one in the back there, starting to scuttle down, so when the adults come in, they can feed them at the mouth of the burrow there. And the older chick has been exercising his wings. He needs to do that because they're very aerial species, spend much of the time up in the air, so needs to get those flight muscles really strong before they eventually fledge. We don't know exactly how old they are because we're not sure when the eggs hatch. They take about 3 weeks from hatching until they fledge, and I would keep an eye on that camera because I wouldn't mind putting some money on the fact that by Thursday at least 1 or 2 of those birds will have fledged. Let's hope so. Time to go back to Arne now and join Michaela, who'll bring us up to date with even more of our live nests.
By Thursday, Iolo, eh? Is that what you reckon? I'm actually keeping my eye on them in here because I'm in the truck at the moment and the sand martins are at the top. We've just been watching them and we've just seen the sparrowhawk again on the outside of the sand martins cliff. Well, it's not a cliff there, it's an artificial nesting wall. But great to be in here. I love coming in here. This is the truck where they're monitoring all of these nests 24 hours a day with this fantastic team that literally every time they see something, they mark it up and they clip it up for us so that we can show you. So let's have a look at all of our nests, our variety of nests, and pick one to go to. Which is the one we're picking, Sarah?
I think we're going to go for the reed warbler.
Reed warbler. OK, let's have a look at the reed warbler. Now, this is a nest to me, Sarah, that just seems to be getting on with it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's 5 in there, which you can only see 3 there, but there are 5 in there squashed in, and they really are ready to fledge. We've already seen them hopping around the reed stems, but they always seem to decide to pop back in.
They don't seem to be fitting very well in there, so they're literally spilling out the side. I'm hopeless at predicting the right time, so I'm going to ask you, when do you reckon they're going to fledge?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow? What time?
Tomorrow.
Come on, Sarah, one at a time.
3 p.m.
Joe, what do you reckon?
I'm going to say tomorrow morning. I'm not going more specific.
OK, and I'm going to go 5. I'm going to go 5 p.m, so that's our predictions. Let's have a look at the kestrels, because every time I come in here, I've really enjoyed this nest at the moment, because you've got these kestrels just peeking out. They are also really ready to fledge. Oh, hello, that one looks a bit bizarre. And I'm going to take you back to what they were like a couple of weeks ago, because it's unbelievable, the change. I mean, look at them. And look at them now, the 9th of June. Obviously, they've grown. The adult feathers are coming. They're very noisy. They're flapping away. Every time a parent bird comes in, it just seems like mayhem, feathers flying everywhere. And then there's a right old squabble inside to try and get a little bit of food. But as I say, they're ready to go. They're literally falling out of that nest box. So predictions, Sarah, what do you reckon?
Thursday.
Thursday? You're going for Thursday? OK. Joe?
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Noon.
Okay, Wednesday noon. Okay, I've got to go for tomorrow then. I know that's totally wrong, but that's what I'm going to go for. We're going to end in here anyway at showing you with the blue tit, because we've all been watching this blue tit, Sid. Here he is. Oh, Sarah, I love this. I mean, this little blue tit is so keen to get out of this nest box, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I love it too, actually. I think, yeah, really trying all day. He's been seen at the nest hole being fed.
Ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is what we have seen. This is what they've been clipping up all day with this little blue tit as it is getting those wings going. And look at it. It knows where it wants to go, and it's going to go up. Oh, no, it comes down again. Go on, and we're all rooting for it. I mean, remember, this is the last survivor, 1 out of 8. And yes, it reaches the hole. Seems a bit surprised that it's there, and it flaps its wings. The parent seems a bit surprised too. Gorgeous shot that, with a chick peeking out, the adult feeding it. And as I say, we're really rooting for Sid. I've been rooting for him all along because we like hope, we like survival, and we like a happy ending, and hopefully that one is going to be a happy ending very soon. Anyway, from all these chicks in here to gulls in the city, and in some cities, gulls seem to be taking over, and not everybody is delighted about that. So we've decided to give gulls a makeover and give them their own voice.
Bath Spa, historic, genteel town in Somerset. Famous for its Roman baths, the Royal Crescent, and Bridgerton filming locations. Now it's home to more than 1,000 gulls. Herring and black-backed in variety. Famous for being the nuisance neighbours in need of an antisocial behaviour order. Loud, boisterous squawking, aggressive conduct, and downright theft has given these birds a bad rep. But are they just a little bit misunderstood?
We're not so different from you. Like many of you humans, we gulls first came to the city as it offered so much more opportunity than the coastal cliffs of home. Back home, we'd have to start the day with a dunk in the sea to freshen up. But here, obviously there's a spa for starters. Clue's in the name. But me and my mates, well, we like to steam clean. Take full advantage of everything the city has to offer. We can warm our feathers in the steamy air from these vents, allowing us to get a nice deep clean and clear out those bugs. I can't lie, it's hungry work all this cleaning and preening. Time for some brekkie. To be honest, all the fish, small animals and insects we'd eat at the coast can get a bit boring. Here, it's much more cosmopolitan. Here, there's sausage. It's just a case of watching and waiting. Waiting and watching. Look at those poor pigeons pecking at crumbs by the bin. That is just tragic. I found the trick is to bide your time. Wait till a human's distracted, normally by their food, and then strike. Hey, want to see that again? I know I do. And a great thing about a high-calorie snack like a sausage is that we can take some home to the kids. We're not just mugging you because you're an easy target. We have got families to feed. Hard to believe that this pair was just eggs a few weeks ago. Now look at them. We're lucky here. The roofs are a much safer place to raise a family than the cliffs back home. Me and my partner love it here. Sharing, raising the kids. We've been together forever, and always will be. The thing is about city living, you get to know the rhythm of a place. When you've been here for a while like me, you also know the best hangouts. Like this place. Humans call it the tip. We call it an all-you-can-eat buffet, and by early afternoon, it is topped up with fresh dishes. It's one of the reasons we gulls came to cities in the first place. A constant and endless supply of food. Don't get me wrong, not every mouthful's good for us. You humans dispose of so much plastic. What are you thinking? We eat that stuff. Obviously, we can either bring it up in pellets or poop it out. And we can't help it but we litter the countryside with it. Hundreds of kilos of it. Sorry. Don't get us wrong. It's not all rainbows and unicorns trying to live alongside you lots. You don't make it easy, for sure. I didn't want to think you didn't want us here. See far fewer of my mates around. Back in the day, there was loads more herring gulls. 60% more to be precise. Now we're on something called a red list. That does not sound good. And it's not like we can easily go back to the coast. There's less fish in the sea. It's harder to find a place to call home. So maybe be a bit kinder to us. I'm sure there's plenty to go round. We can share. If you can.
I love gulls.
So do I. Well, I love all animals, but I certainly don't dislike gulls.
No, and people who live alongside them soon get used to that screaming sound in the morning, I've heard. So, I mean, we hear it if we move into those areas, but people live there all the time get used to it. Fantastic stuff. And thanks to Joe Sims, the actor who did the voiceover, and to Peter Rock, our urban gull expert, who noticed them steam bathing for probably the first time. Fantastic stuff. Now, earlier in the programme, we showed you a fascinating but quite harsh sequence of an adder raiding our reed bunting's nest. It left one dead youngster and one living youngster. What happened next? Well, the adults dutifully removed the dead one. That would stop predators being attracted, or if it started to decompose, cause problems for the remaining chick. The remaining chick, obviously, they gave it their full attention, bringing in plenty of food. Damselfly going in there, as you can see. But frankly, you couldn't make this up. It's been attacked by one reptile. What are the chances of it being attacked by another? It begins to move around in the nest, thinking, can I make an exit? It would be wise to make an exit at this point, as it finds its way to the edge of the nest, when a grass snake appears. Flicking its tongue, sensing its prey, it moves over immediately to the chick. Just like the adder, it nuzzles it to find the right spot to strike. For some inexplicable reason, the chick just freezes until the grass snake grabs it and pulls it out of the nest again, so that it can find somewhere where it can swallow it. Comes back 30 minutes later, sniffing around to see if there's anything else there. Again, take a look at the body of the grass snake. Just like with the adder, you can see that characteristic bulge where the chick is now inside the body of the snake. Two different species of reptiles predating one species of bird. Absolutely amazing. And there you can see the snake slinking off through the reeds. Amazing. Now, that was clearly bad news for that brood of reed buntings. The good news is that it's early enough in the season for that pair to build another nest, lay another clutch of eggs, and hopefully rear their young without any interference from reptiles.
Not only is it amazing for us to have seen that, but it's really interesting that both snakes went for the same prey in the same nest, because typically they'd have slightly different prey and different techniques of catching it. So let's start first of all with a grass snake and have a look at what they would typically go for. Typically they would go for fish or amphibians, and it's a grab and swallow technique. They're not venomous, so they catch it and then swallow it. And you can see that's exactly what it's doing with this great crested newt. Great crested newt can't fight back particularly. It wouldn't be dangerous if it fought back. And so that's why it can just grab it and swallow it straight away. It would, of course, turn it around and swallow it head first. Adders, however, have a different technique, and this is what we saw in the nest. They have a stab and follow. So they put their venomous fangs in their prey, and then they let it die, and then they will follow it and they will swallow it. And that tends to be small mammals and young birds. And that technique works because those small mammals could obviously be quite aggressive if they fought back. So they put the venom in, let it die, and then they go back to get it.
We scoured the archives today to see if there was any more film that we could find of an adder envenomating its prey. We couldn't find anything. So let's take a look at, again, the reed buntings being bitten by the adder. It's incredibly quick, even when it's slowed down. Here we are, comes in, bites the first chick there, releases it immediately, just as Michaela said. It's not a dangerous adversary in this sense, but it's a part of its habit. And here it bites the second chick. The fangs go in and then it backs off immediately, reducing any risk of injury, and it waits for that venom to take its impact. And over here we've got a diagram, and you can see here is the head of the adder. There's the long tail tongue that it uses for sensing its food. And if I just remove this part of it here we have a cutaway drawing of the snake, and here you can see its backward facing teeth, which it uses for gripping hold of the prey once it's got it. But when it strikes, it's able to open its mouth almost 180 degrees like that. And then its next trick is to evert its fangs here. And it's these, of course, which do the envenomating. Marked in yellow here is the venom gland, and it's a modified saliva gland. All snakes' venom has evolved from saliva, which became toxic, and then I guess they evolved the fangs to ensure a more efficient way of getting that into the body of their victims. And in the case of the adder, it's principally a hemotoxin. It attacks the blood vessels, causes the breakdown of those small capillaries so that the creature loses blood pressure very, very quickly. And that's why we saw those small chicks incapacitated or killed as rapidly as they were.
So that's the grass snake and the adder. We have 3 native snakes that we can find here in Arne. So what about the smooth snake? That has a different technique altogether, and that has what we call a squeeze and swallow. So it gets its prey, it grabs it and then squeezes it, constricts it, almost crushes it, not necessarily kills it, but crushes it, disables it, and then it will try and swallow it. And it's been really difficult to find any footage of that at all, hasn't it?
It has, but we've got this extremely interesting photograph which we've got from the Netherlands, and here is a smooth snake which has captured an adder. So it's a non-venomous constrictor which has killed a venomous snake, and it's swallowing it head first. And here you can see just the back end of the snake is going down. So this is an amazing image. We know that smooth snakes eat other reptiles, normally smaller than themselves, but that was a big meal for that smooth snake.
And just to sum this up, because it is different techniques typically, it's the grass snake, grab and swallow, the adder, stab and follow with the venom, stabs and follows. The smooth snake squeezes and swallows. Slightly different prey, different techniques, and that allows all these 3 snakes to live together in the same area fairly contentedly.
Amazing stuff. Now we're running quite short of time, so I'm going to make a very swift move now from the south of England way north to Megan, who's going to be telling us a little bit more, not about snakes, but birds, I think.
Oh, we love the bird. Love the snakes, of course, but we can't be in this setting without really appreciating the peregrine falcons, which have been flying above our heads, screeching, making the most amazing sound. But to really understand the urban wildlife that's here, I've been joined this week by Libby Penman, a fantastic filmmaker and storyteller. She's got her big camera out, so we hopefully get some really good views of peregrines. Hi, Libby.
How's it going?
Ah, have you got a peregrine for us?
Got a peregrine right now. It's just sitting tight on the ledge.
Is it? Okay,
yeah, oh, it's moving a little bit.
a little leg. Oh, look at that.
But a live peregrine, pretty awesome.
This is probably one of the juveniles which is literally fledged either yesterday or today. Incredibly exciting stuff. But we've seen so much action, haven't we, over the last few minutes?
They've been flying around a magical setting, on and off the sledge. So yeah, this one's got its back to us at the minute, but they've been staring me down the camera all day. It's been amazing.
Yeah, we've seen them earlier on, out and about, stretching their wings, really growing their flight muscles, which is so important. This one here, having the most, well, projectile poop, and then stretching. Making sure that it's ready, of course, to kind of go off and do its adult life. Which
Absolutely, it's been amazing to see all day.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about the peregrines then. Is that what got you really interested in filmmaking?
I mean, I love filming the peregrines here. It's been one of those things that members of the public always say to me when I'm up looking at the building, what are you looking at? And then when you get to say, this is like one of the world's top predators, fastest animal in the world, it's kind of amazing. So people get quite excited when you explain a little bit about what it is. So yeah, just seeing them sort of flying in about, and in this architecture, it's magical setting.
Yeah, it's a beautiful view, isn't it? So did it always start with wildlife for you then, or how did you get into the filmmaking?
Not always. My filmmaking all started at the skate park, actually. So rollerbladers, BMXers, skateboarders, that was the first species I ever filmed. And it just sort of evolved from there, but it definitely where I learned how to sort of film fast-moving subjects, so yeah.
I guess that makes sense though, doesn't it? Because skateboarders, I imagine, as much as wildlife, quite unpredictable in terms of the movement, the fast angle of it.
Yeah, no, totally. Like, they seem worlds apart, but actually, like, when someone's doing like a dangerous trick, you can't exactly tell them, oh, I wasn't recording, can you do it again? So it's sort of the same as wildlife. You have to be like alert and ready to go. So I definitely learnt a lot of skills in the skate park that just sort of translated over to wildlife.
Yeah, and you go out and about exploring urban Glasgow all the time. Is there any particular species that you've really enjoyed filming?
Yeah, no, I've spent so much time filming in urban Glasgow, and like the kingfisher, moments with that have been unreal. Otters here, amazing. Urban foxes I always love to see. So the amount of animals I've seen here has just been incredible. I really can't get enough of the stuff that I've been able to walk to literally from a flat.
But I think it goes to show, doesn't it, is like, actually wildlife is all around us if we only take the time to look and appreciate it.
Yeah, no, totally. I think this idea of like wildlife on your doorstep can become a bit of like a buzzword phrase, but actually, to be honest, the most amazing wildlife camera training I've ever had has just been a walk from my front door, and definitely the coolest stuff I've ever witnessed has just been like in the city, and I've just walked it. So yeah, if you get tuned into what's there, it's unbelievable.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Libby. Really appreciate that. And Libby, you'll be joining us throughout the rest of the week.
Yes, I'm absolutely buzzing.
Very excited about that. It'd be great to have you. Now, it's time to head back to Arne, to Chris and Michaela, who have got some gems up their sleeve for us.
We've always got some gems up our sleeves, Megs. And we really have, because we're going to tease you with a new nest, and it's this one. And I think this is just such a fab bird. It's the goldfinch. Now, this is what you call a jazzy... Well, oh, my goodness. Look, I've really built that up.
I know,
but look,
we have been watching them, and they look glorious when they're out and about in daytime.
Look, there we go, there we go. This is what we've seen over the last 24 hours. I mean, you just can't mistake this bird for any other bird with that wonderful crimson head and that yellow flash on the wing. Absolutely stunning. And it's got 4 chicks there, they're 4 days old. So hopefully we'll see them grow over the next 4 days.
We've got time for just one quick clarity. Let's take a look at this. This was taken by Adrian Dancy. It's a black redstart, male there on the left. Quick flick through, let's see the male in all of his glory. Oh, look at that, what a bird. One of those rare urban birds that we get in the UK. They do quite well in our cities where it's nice and warm. But sadly, that is all the time that we've got this evening. We will be back tomorrow. We'll be following the fortunes of a young brood of little owls, way up in the Cuteness Straits.
And I'll be investigating the unique ecology of the water voles that make their home here in Glasgow.
And I'm going to be visiting the Portland Bird Observatory and looking at some of the migrant birds that turn up there.
As you know, some of our birds could be fledging, could be in the next 24 hours. So keep your eyes on those live streams on the iPlayer. Blue tits, kestrels, reed warblers, they all could go, even sand martins.
Hold on.
I always get
I've just heard
wrong.
there's an anaconda on the loose at Arne.
No, stop it. Hopefully
Unbelievable.
No more predations. We'll be back tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So get out, enjoy going out for a lovely walk, enjoying the wildlife. See you tomorrow at 8. Bye-bye. Stop it.
You can explore some of our amazing and different species and the diverse habitats in which they live by ordering the Open University's free poster. To get your copy, call 0300 303 2465 or go to bbc.co.uk/Springwatch and then follow the links to the Open University.